to Bloody Good Horror, covering the best and worst of the horror genre since Halloween 2007. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be discussing The Invitation, a fancy movie that we stole from Sophistical, but we can talk about that later. I'm the editor-in-chief over at bloodygoodhorror.com. Joining me tonight, wearing glasses, because he reads, no big deal. He's the beer aficionado at Bloody Good Horror, and his name is Joe.
That's right. I read the words.
That's right.
I write the songs.
Next up tonight, coming to us live from New York City, New York, by way of Duke, of course. He's the business manager at bloodygoodhorror.com, and his name is John Schnars.
Hey guys.
John, you look like you just came from like a sweaty boxing gym or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been sweating it up
You
all
just
day
hit,
long.
hit the speed bag or something.
One of them American Psycho gyms where you
I
guys
like
just
working the bag.
sit in like a sauna and talk about immigrants.
Next up on the show, he is the co-host of The Instamatic. He's also an author of horror fiction and the official big bear of Bloody Good Horror. His name is Casey. Rar, indeed.
Yeah, that's my bear imitation, thank you.
Last up tonight, come to us from Chi-Town, Chicago. I almost said New York. That's not where Chicago is.
Chicago, New York.
He is
Chicago, New York.
the website maker of Bloody Good Horror, and his name is Mark.
Use your words. Hi.
I used words, they just weren't right.
Chicago, New York, I love it.
We are here tonight
City's so nice they named it twice.
to talk about The Invitation. The OG crew back in the house. This is pretty exciting, you guys. When was the last time we were all in the same place
Once
at
in
the
a
same time?
lifetime.
Yeah. Mark even showed up for the pre-show. It's like
Don't talk about rural
up is down is up. Cats
I'm
and
still
dogs
dancing. I'm drinking beer. and
living
doing good.
together. Bloodygoodhorror.com is a magical place where magical things happen.
Yeah.
Mark, something we've been kind of delving into more and more lately here is video games. Because is it worth living the man-child life without also playing video games?
I was waiting for a what's the deal with video
What's the
games?
deal with video games?
So we, in lieu of other pieces of content, we've decided recently that everyone loves playing video games and loves recording themselves playing video games, and people love watching it. So we've been working out ways to do more Let's Play videos and more streaming. So Evan has recorded a video of him playing the Resident Evil 4 HD remix for PS4. And so that'll be up hopefully by the time you hear this, but if not, shortly thereafter. John and I are tentatively planning to do a streaming and posting of me opening 30 Hearthstone packs, which should be great for all the nerds.
What
sounds-
does any of that actually mean?
Yeah, first of all, Joe doesn't know what the fuck that means. Second of all, that is the nerdiest thing I've ever heard, and it's amazing.
I mean, it's one of the nerdiest things I've ever said.
I
Did
really
your
want
hymen grow back when you said that sentence?
you guys need to make sure though I want to see like the whole animation. Also, like you need to wait for all the sound effects to happen and really just go like you opened a soda.
Yeah, well, so the new set is called Whispers of the Old Gods, and I'm going to pretend like I did this on purpose. I'm drinking a beer called Whisper Kisses.
Nice.
Synergy, accidental synergy.
Is
But yeah,
Hearth-
so we're going to do that, and I'm also... I've got a couple games set up that I want to do Let's Plays for. I want to do another one for Nuclear Throne because I unlocked another character that I think would be pretty fun to show off. I'm also planning on doing Crypt of the Necro Dancer, which is a
Right.
ridiculous... it's like a ridiculous dungeon crawler where you have to... There's like weird techno music playing and you have to like attack and move with the beat. It's really crazy. And also a game called Death State. Who, if you've seen our Let's Play videos, one of the creators of Death State is the guy who made Halloween Forever. So we gave that away in our Halloween giveaway last year, and Casey did a Let's Play video of it last year. So I'm going to follow up with that. And he's actually expressed interest in maybe hopping on the video while I'm streaming. So that might be a thing. Basically, so in addition to all of the written content you have every day, on Bloody Good Horror. We will also be posting some video stuff. So if you go to youtube.com/BGH video, that will all be there.
Great. You know what I was thinking about playing too is the game that they released along with the Huntsman. That's actually like an RPG looking like adventure kind of game. It actually looks kind of cool.
You will not let the Huntsman go.
Listen,
will you?
it's got a cool art style, and the first episode is free to play. What's to lose?
I shed a single tear every time I see the preview.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Eric,
Good
we're only
times.
going to let you stream those exclusive Burger King games that they put out for the 360.
Get some Sneak King on.
Are
I'm
you-
into
yes.
that.
Wait, is that a thing? I will play that.
Oh yeah, it was the original. I want to say it was the original Xbox, but it might have been the 360. They
it's
they made
360.
they made like different kinds of games. Like they made a stealth game and like a shooter and
They had a racing game, too.
yeah, and it was all
I
just
only remember the name Sneaking. That's the only one that I remember.
they were all like creepy and weird, and they sold them at Burger King.
I'm pretty sure everyone that works at Burger King is just like stoned out of their fucking mind all the time.
Well, that was,
Yeah.
I mean, not to go into a deep hole there, but they had like a really kind of questionable ad agency that did all that like creepy Burger King stuff. And they ended up having to get rid of them because they got such like a bro rep that they had to like fire the agency. That was, you know, the story.
Yeah,
So
they
yeah,
also just
sneak in.
recently announced
Sneak in.
that they're going to include chicken rings on their menu.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which I hate to say this, but was taken on by a progressive organization known as White Castle a long time ago.
Oh my God, they're so good at White
Chicken
Castle.
rings?
Yeah.
Rings.
Oh.
Someone
I'm in.
someone explain this plebe food to Schnars.
No, I'm down for that.
So what you
It's
do
chicken
is
in a
you
ring.
grind miscellaneous chicken parts into a paste, and then you put it into a mold that makes it shaped like a ring.
yeah, I get it.
Also
They're
comes in
so
the form
good.
of a dinosaur. You can get dinosaur chicken nuggets. You can really make it into anything you want. We should actually
Fry it
see
to
if
a
we can make
delightful greasy
BGH
brown.
Yeah, we can make BGH logo shaped chicken nuggets. Would people eat that?
I'm listening.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Go on.
Do you think people
That's
like
not
I
drugs.
could have like a YouTube channel where I just eat White Castle and like people watch me? Like, do you think that could
Joe,
be a thing?
Dude, you know how many people would watch you eat nothing but White Castle?
Joe, I 1000% believe that there are already YouTube channels where people just eat fast food.
I'm
So
sure.
how soon is it before our YouTube channel just turns into like a weird fetish channel where we're all just like,
As soon as you buy Joe a web camera.
watch John type with his feet?
Yeah, there is a billion videos on YouTube of people just eating enormous fast food meals.
Dear Lord.
Well, there was
That
that, one
sounds
for years
depressing.
ago with that fat kid that was eating as many pizza pockets as he could.
Oh, the pizza roll kid? That guy
Yeah.
was a sham. I could have put him to shame. That was
Yeah, but
garbage.
You didn't have the mouth breathing panting going that
Yeah.
he had from sitting still.
I think like he didn't even put down like a 20 pack. Like that's nothing.
Loser.
Amateurs.
Yeah,
Calling you out. If you're still alive,
if you're still alive. Yeah, that's fair. That's
If
fair.
you made it to high school, I'm calling you out.
I would say on the video game tip, if people have requests and or suggestions, give us a shout because we are interested.
Yes,
John-
we are trying to keep them like loosely genre-ish, but
Yeah.
as with all things, we bend a little
Yeah,
bit.
like if there's a zombie in the game anywhere, that qualifies.
So you
If
don't get
there
to
is
watch
a-
me play Ratchet and Clank, sorry.
have you guys played Sunset Overdrive?
No.
No,
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, though.
I'm playing it. It was free on Xbox this month. It's very good. It's got zombies and like gargoyles and.
Did you get
witches
it?
and-
Did you get it on Steam?
No, still don't know what that is or why anyone would pay for that.
Hey, Schnars, they added clans to that Star Wars game I've been playing. I don't even know what to do.
Yes.
Sounds racist.
Guilds.
I don't know how these things work in a like free-to-play mobile game, but I'm interested. And you can now you can unlock the Gamorrean Guard. What else do you need in a game?
Oh, biscuits! I know what you're
I
talking
am a
about
whore
now.
for that Star Wars game, so I took the very first guild invite I got. So I don't even know the name of our guild.
Nice. Oh, that's right. You're playing that game hardcore too.
And
Yeah.
I'm lost again.
Yeah. John,
Sir.
upcoming schedule for Bloody Good Horror, please.
Yeah, so we should have mentioned at the top that we are talking about the invitation because this was voted on by our Patreon Inner Sanctum members.
I gotta say a
It's
rare.
your fault.
I gotta say a rare win for the Patreon voters.
All right, we'll get to that. We'll come to it.
Nailed it.
But we put 4 movies up for vote, and this one won barely, beating out a film called Baskin. And we just decided we're going to watch Baskin next week. So for all those folks who may have been disappointed that we are not talking about Baskin right now, we're going to talk about it. Well, y'all are going to talk about it. I am going to not be talking about it. But
we'll get to Robbins, I think, at the end of the summer. Is that what the plan is?
Mark already made a related Baskin Robbins comment.
No, F you. I made that weeks ago.
We can bask in the glory of all the Baskin Robbins references next week.
There you go. Y'all enjoy that one. Yeah, so thank you to everyone who voted. We appreciate your support. And
If it's one thing we hate doing, it's making actual decisions. So thank you for all of your help.
I actually find it much easier
Schnars,
to just upload everything and be done with it.
We did have a Twitter question this week about what level of Patreon do you need to be to vote in these things.
Yeah, so we do. It's the $10 and up is the inner sanctum.
You gotta buy in.
You gotta buy in. But it's yeah. I mean, you get other stuff with the inner sanctum,
Right, that's kind of just like an extra thing in there.
Yeah, that was. We think of it as, you know, you're fully committed. You're in the cult, so to speak.
Sure.
Could we go down that road? You know.
Yeah.
So
You get full access to the Admirals Club.
You see Joe when you close your eyes at night.
That's right. At the $20 mark, you can tweet me and I will private message you John's home phone number.
Speaking
that's not on the patron site, but that's a promise.
It's a
from me.
secret.
you just sent Joe $20.
Yeah.
speaking of Joe doing weird stuff on the internet, Joe,
Yeah.
you want to tell us how your Snapchat odyssey is going?
It's going pretty well.
So at BG Horror, we're on Snapchat now.
We are, yeah. I have no idea. Like, I just found out like 2 days ago that you can actually tell who's looked at your Snapchat. And I feel like we've got a pretty good response. There's no, like, you can see the list of people who follow you, but there's no, like, actual number. So I have no idea how many people are actually following us. I just know it's a pretty long list.
Do people
Just
Snapchat
Snapchatting
you? Is
into
that
the void.
Yeah, like we get
Snap?
some folks that send us like ones directly to us, and we've got some weirdos out there. It's pretty nice.
You got any like sexy private time ones?
No, we do have this one guy who just keeps sending us like videos of him like singing in like different areas, like in the car and then like
Cool.
at home and stuff. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
it gets weird. But yeah, I've actually been keeping up with it, like doing at least like 1 or 2 a day, sometimes more. And I'm sure this weekend when some of us will be together, there'll be, if there's any internet reception in the woods.
Dude, one of the like high level Patreon things should be Joe sends you a daily personal photo
Oh.
just to you.
no one?
I actually love
wants
that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Here's a
pretty.
picture of John.
You'd be
typing with his
surprised.
feet.
You'd be surprised, Snars. People love that Joe character.
God knows why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, guys. I think that's oh, Joe.
Yeah.
What are we drinking this week while we review the Invitation?
Let's keep it going. Whisper kisses. I wish I had that. I would have like jumped all over it.
It's delicious.
But I picked a beer. So the Invitation is about a group of friends who apparently from the movie, it seems like they have not been together in a while, but get an invitation from a couple to have a dinner party. And they show up and there is a ton of expensive wine flowing, like just ridiculous from the way they describe it. So in honor of that wine dinner party, I picked a wheat wine, which is, I think I've talked about barley wines in the past, but I've never actually talked about a wheat wine. Pretty much it's a little
Sounds
vague
disgusting.
it's actually pretty good. It's vague. Like it's really just a strong ale with like an extra amount of wheat in there. So really it's just a high alcohol wheat beer. This one comes in at about 9%. And it is from the good people at Ithaca Beer Company, which, John, if you were to guess where Ithaca Beer Company is, what would you?
Rochester, New York.
New York, the state of New York.
In Ithaca, exactly.
Oh, nice.
Ithaca is a shithole.
Yeah. Well, actually, isn't Ithaca nice? Like I haven't
That's
been
where
there in a
Cornell
long time.
is, isn't it?
Yeah.
No.
I'm
I'm
sure it's
sorry.
fine.
You know what I'm thinking of? A different place.
You're thinking of Utica.
Yes, I actually
Yep.
was thinking of Utica.
I make that same mistake
Yeah.
because we actually have family in Utica, and I'm like,
Utica.
that place is disgusting. Why do people like it? And then I realize. But
Utica
this
is like the setting of a Stephen King novel.
Yeah, well, that's Utica's where they held the like 1999 Woodstock, where like everything went to
wow.
hell, like Limp Bizkit.
Where everyone swam in shit.
It wasn't at Woodstock?
No, the second one, which was like in '96, I want to say, or maybe even earlier, was at Woodstock. But the third one, which was in '99, took place up in Utica.
The Limp Bizkit one where they burned that mother down.
Yeah,
The Woodstock people were just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
We've had enough.
I had a friend who was there and on, let's say, mind-altering substances when everything started burning.
yeah, I can imagine it was
Good
pretty
times.
awful.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I said the name of this beer. It is their
I don't know.
13, which is their anniversary ale. It's part of their Excelsior series.
Cool.
And it's very good. Like, really, the description is like a wheat beer that just kind of has a little more alcohol kick to it. Although you don't really get that alcohol burn with this. And I really enjoy it. A lot of sort of like grapefruit comes through with this. You still get like some of that cloviness, but all around it's really good. Wheat wines aren't a very popular style. And if I remember right, they kind of were created in America. Like it's kind of like our own little hybrid of barley wines. But Ithaca Brewing or Ithaca Beer Company, like everything they put out is usually really good. So I wholeheartedly suggest if you can't find this one, like pick up some of their other stuff. ithacabeer.com is their website. And yeah, there you go.
Delightful, Joe. Thank you
you.
for that. Let's take a quick break so that we can discuss the invitation.
Well, it's gonna be great. Angela will dookie in her pants.
Hey, I'm Tom Atkins. Thrill me. You're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time, bitch. Main feature.
And we're back. You know what
Right.
this is, John?
What's that?
This is prime time.
Mm.
Oh.
Primetime Sanders.
Might be bedtime for me.
When you go to bed, John, do you dream of the Duke University Library? Oh my God, that story about you working in like the old manuscript building was like catnip to me when I went back and listened to it. I was like,
Dude,
this is
I've
gold.
got mad stories from working in the rare book room. So
Well, I only ask for one.
That is
tonight.
the whitest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I've got mad stories.
You don't know
I'm
what
surprised
it
they
was
never
like.
talked about it. It was we just many good times.
Yeah,
I'm
for
surprised
real.
you want to talk about
We have
it.
done this show for almost 10 years, and somehow that story never came out.
Well, I'm
blame
usually
you.
thinking about words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just
Has
learned
to be
about this
about
prestigious hospital that supposedly exists there.
Yeah.
I feel like we're really just scratching the surface of what John can make up.
Speaking of words,
Do you
John.
own a T-shirt that says "Ask me about my time in the rare book room"?
No, but I would wear it if I had one.
Speaking of books, John, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is eschatology.
Ooh.
Oh, John.
The study of poop and scatting.
That would be interesting as well. It in fact means the part of theology concerned with death, judgment, and the final destiny of the soul, and specifically of humankind.
No
Well
complaints
done,
here, John.
Yeah.
Thank you guys, thank you. I had to bring it for this very important word of the day. So it comes from the Greek eskatos or eskatos. I don't know how you pronounce it, but that just means last. So it's essentially last and the logi there for studying. So yeah, eschatology.
Whose neighbor got murdered?
Oh yeah, dude. I think I gave you guys a heads up last time. Well, there's gonna be mad sirens in this new apartment here. So
Oh,
John, I thought
nice.
you were about to get arrested for killing the word of the day.
we're ooh,
Excuse
zing.
me, sir. Are you on fire? We've had reports.
We basically are right next to Weill Cornell Hospital now, so you
I'm
know.
surprised you would live next to Cornell Hospital after all the praise of Duke Hospital.
Well, it's not a big island here, Manhattan.
Well,
you gotta
if
go
he gets
somewhere.
sick though, he gets metaflighted to Duke Hospital.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's actually like one of those hyper tubes or whatever the hell that what's his name's building. You
Sure.
got those.
One of
The
those.
Jetsons?
Yeah, the Jetsons. Exactly.
Hey,
Rich family.
Mr. J Schnaps,
Yes.
why don't you tell us a little bit about The Invitation?
Yeah, The Invitation it's about a dinner party. The sort of main character here is Will. Will is actually going to a dinner party at his former home, and it's the sort of home that he lived in with the woman who's now his ex-wife. Her name's Eden. We learn pretty early on. I mean, I think it's even kind of discussed outright in the beginning sort of sequence. They lost their son. They had about basically like a 5-year-old son that died while they were married, and that kind of led to their divorce. Will is definitely still wrestling with the sort of anguish over that. And this is the first he's heard from his wife in 2 years, is this invitation to this dinner party. She's now with a new husband, whose name is Tommy, I think. No, I don't know. There's a lot of people with single word. Oh, David. He's David.
He's played by the handsome guy who's like Daenerys' right-hand man on Game of Thrones. I can't remember the character's name.
Yeah.
I had
Dario
it earlier.
Naharis.
Dario Naharis. Yeah.
He's one of the like hired killer.
Who was
groups there.
recast?
Anyway.
Who was recast? By the way, the original actor they had playing that character was like fugly as hell, and then the next season suddenly he's just incredibly handsome.
Wait,
With the good hair.
you're telling me they switched?
Yes.
Really? Yeah,
Yep.
I did not pick up on that. Yeah, he's hunky. So you got Will, you've got Eden, you've got David, and then you've got this sort of like, random cast of friends who have all been invited to this dinner party. Again, it's almost like a reunion because these people haven't really been together for the last 2 years. Eden has been out of the country with David in Mexico, is sort of what they've said, but we don't really know what the hell they've been up to. Will is also bringing his new, I think, girlfriend. I don't think they're married. Her name's Kira. And that's sort of the setup. They get there, they sort of, it's a little awkward because everyone's not really sure sort of what's been going on and all this, but they're reconnecting. They're kind of just having general dinner party conversation. They start to notice some weird stuff. The house now has bars on all the windows. They live in this like super fancy,
The Hills.
like mid-century modern house up in the Hollywood Hills. And and so now there's like bars on the windows. The David guy, who's now the husband and living in the house, he keeps locking the doors, and they basically tell this story about there's been these break-ins and like a family was terrorized in the hills, so they're just being safe, and everything is more or less proceeding along as normal. They're drinking a lot of like super fancy high-end wine and just generally having a nice time, and then David sort of launches into this story about a group that they've joined to help them overcome their grief. So David's also recovering from grief. I can't remember if they say exactly what his deal is, but
Weren't they all friends? Like that.
His wife.
That's what would confuse me. Like if he was known to this group previously, it seemed
No.
like they were all friends.
I don't think so.
no. So David wasn't. Eden and Will were husband and wife, and everybody was their friends.
There's
There's also like a
there's
couple
some
people from this like group. that
there's
went.
some offhanded line about how the two of them got together after the accident, but I kind of missed it.
They got
he makes
together
some
like, at
offhanded.
a support group, basically.
Okay.
It was my understanding.
All right.
Yeah, so you have two other characters who are there from their group. There's a guy named Pruitt, who's played by a pretty recognizable character actor, John Carroll Lynch.
Yeah, he's
and then,
the husband there from Fargo, the movie.
yeah, the original
Yeah.
Fargo movie. Yeah. He's also, I mean, he was in Shutter Island.
I'll make you
Zodiac.
breakfast, Margie.
Also, the Drew Carey show.
Yeah, he was
Yes.
Drew Carey's
Yeah.
dress-wearing brother, right?
And
But
then
he was also the scary clown in American Horror Story.
so there you go. He's known to many.
What
movie
a weird
viewers.
body of work he's
He's a
had.
Yes.
great actor.
And then you have Sadie. Sadie's kind of like the weird, like somewhat sexed up, like member of this group. And
Sometimes she just doesn't wear pants.
so no. And right when they introduce this, and this is like, I don't know, the end of the first act is basically them introducing the fact that they're now in this like group, and the other people at the dinner party are sort of like vaguely familiar with this group, and then there's this like whole discussion of, is it a cult, is it not a cult, and like I don't know, they just go through sort of a lot of progression around this, like, is it or is it not? And
meanwhile, while that's happening, we're basically peeling away the layers of this main character's grief and finding out more about what happened to their kid, how that's kind of severed the relationship with his wife, and he is becoming increasingly suspicious and accusatory of like what's happening in the house. And so as the audience, you're basically just going like, well, something's happening. Let's watch and find out what's up here.
Yeah, so he's also like exploring the house, so we're seeing a lot more of the setting, and it's it's huge. And to your point, yeah, he's like seeing all kinds of stuff. And what is essentially being set up is this question of like, in his grief, is he being clouded to what's otherwise just like a normal dinner party, and the fact that his wife has somewhat transformed in having met this other person? Or is it really happening? I mean, it's essentially like a Rosemary's Baby type of situation that plays out over the rest of the film.
Actual thing I said out loud during this movie, is that pubic hair?
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
When she was, well, you guys were just talking about her not having clothes on. Like she's standing in the doorway, but it's kind of like in a silhouette, so I couldn't really tell at first glance.
That was like 2 minutes ago. I think were you just sitting there thinking about that?
Yeah. No, I can't jump in. I can't jump in and interrupt you guys anymore, so I had to keep my thought. It's a tough thing.
All right, here's how I keep my cool. I'm just gonna sit here and think about pubes.
Think about pubes. Joe.
Yes, sir.
What did you think of The Invitation?
I liked it quite a bit. I think this isn't uncharted territory. Like, you find out they're in a cult and you kind of know where this is going, or at least you think you do. And I think the way, and I don't want to like give anything away, but the way they kind of build up the tension about like, is the outcome going to happen? I mean, I guess we can say like they're at a dinner party and they say they're a cult. So the obvious thing that pops in your head is that at some point they're going to try and murder everyone. So they're drinking, they're eating, and the thing that keeps popping in your head is like, are they poisoning these people? Is there something in the wine? And I feel like they kind of veer away from that enough that it actually keeps you guessing. And then when, I don't think we're spoiling anything, that, shit eventually hits the fan. I think the way that they unravel that is really interesting, where it's not what you were expecting. And then the end is kind of like this gut punch, like the very end. So I thought they veered enough away from what you actually thought was going to happen to like keep it interesting. But even like, I feel like even if they did kind of go straight for where you thought they were, like I still would have liked this movie. Like I thought it was shot really well. Well, kind of over email, we talked about how maybe the acting wasn't the best, but that really didn't bother me. I thought the way they sort of unraveled what was going on in this house really kept you entertained, because it's like an hour and like 45-minute movie or so. Yeah. And really, you don't kind of get to whatever's going to happen until like maybe an hour and 20. Like it's, there's a lot of people sitting around a table talking. But I thought it was interesting enough that at no point was I really bored with this.
Casey.
Yeah, I'm right there with Joe. This is, I found it to be a pretty good movie. We talked in our discussions ahead of time where a couple people thought it was really, really great. I don't know that I would say it was like really, really great, but it was really good. It was enjoyable. I think the acting stood out to me a little bit more, but it's a unique flick. It's one that I think you could definitely say that you got to be in the mood to sit down and watch because of the pace. It's got kind of a glacial pace to it. But that's not to say that it takes away from it. It's just something that you have to be prepared for going into a movie like this. But when they have that slow pace, they really do a lot to build the tension that's going on here. Like Joe was saying, you think you know what's going on, you're starting to guess and second guess, and then you're starting to doubt yourself. It's really building your tension. You're not exactly sure who you should be leery of and whatnot, and it really pulls into, as a whole, a really great movie. Plus, like Joe said too, this movie looks fantastic as far as like horror movies go, and artistic and cinematography. This is one of the best ones we've seen for a while.
Mark.
Yeah, I really like this too. I think it's very challenging to make a movie like this in sort of an indie way where it holds together and is really gripping, but isn't like too much. And I thought that it kind of strikes a perfect balance. Like Joe said, it's maybe not the most original film ever, but I also think that it does a really good job of throwing in some slight curveballs when necessary. And one of the things we haven't mentioned yet, which I'm sure we'll get into later, is that this is directed by Karen Kusama, who is the director of Jennifer's Body. I did not like Jennifer's Body, but I think my issues had more to do with the writing. It was Diablo Cody's writing in that movie that I was not crazy about. But I mean, the way that movie is, it's almost like kind of like Idle Hands in the way it was directed, like sort of, kind of like poppy, over the top. And this movie is like the exact opposite of that. It's very subtle and cinematic, and
it's not a fun movie. Like it's not.
No, it's not. It's really not.
It's a fucking
movie.
bummer.
But I think that like things that sometimes that I'll hop on movies about, like not being like particularly diverse or not really having great writing, I feel like this kind of takes care of a lot of that stuff. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie too. I'm on board with all you guys. For me, it's like a lot of movies try to do what they're doing here. They try to go, all right, we got a low budget, we got a house to shoot in. Let's write a script that's all built around like character tension and dialogue and make it kind of artsy and try to draw attention to the situation. A lot of indie films try to do that and fail. And the script is really good. There is like a very brutal emotional core at the center of this movie that is like, man, like done so well that it's like hard to watch at times. You almost don't want to know more at some point because you're like, this is like too rough for me. I felt like some of the side character acting was a little rough, but overall, like the leads really carry it, and it's a really interesting ensemble cast of like kind of faces or character actory type people.
Like that guy from Best Bars in America.
But for me,
God,
there's
I
like,
love that show.
In addition to the dialogue, there is just a really well accomplished visual tension that runs through this entire film that brings you to the end. I know, like over email, Casey was saying, you kind of know where it's going early, but it's sort of what's great about it is that even though you're never really doubting your conclusion, you don't know the way it's going to unfold, and you don't know when, and so you're always kind of on the edge of your seat waiting for that stuff to happen. And when it finally does, it's insane. Like things just pop off in this movie and goes kind of batshit at some point. And what's impressive is it's well over an hour before any of this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's still, for me, I normally, this would have been a movie where I like watched half and went to bed and watched the other half the next day. But like I stayed up past my bedtime, Schnars, to watch this movie last night.
Proud of you.
Me too, actually. I watched this in one sitting, which in a lot of these situations is not possible.
Yeah.
For me, the biggest thing that this avoids, that I think is the trap that a lot of these types of movies fall into, is that they actually went with a pretty big cast. So you had like 10 people, maybe something like that, at this dinner party. And I think a lot of times when you see these smaller budget, I mean, we actually don't know what the budget is here. It's not really, it wasn't listed on.
On Wikipedia, it says it was around $1 million.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty small, right? So, but when you have something that's a small budget like this, the easiest thing to cut is like if you go down to like 5 actors or 6 actors, and here instead you've got a pretty big cast. You mentioned, I think Eric mentioned it's a pretty big ensemble. Like there's not really even, there's one main character, but after that it's all the other people mainly have voices. And what that does is when you get to the sort of, it's not even the last act because it really, I guess maybe it is. It's about 30 minutes of kind of zaniness. But there's actually a lot of bodies to stack up at that point.
I don't know if zany's really the right word.
Well, the other thing that it does.
Wacky Town.
John was also listening to yakety sax while he was watching the movie, so that may have had an impact.
The other thing that it does, though, is like it adds. There's this really heavy weight to the fact that these people are really, this child has died and it was the one couple's kid, but this group of friends is really mourning. They're mourning this loss together because they were all there, and they're also mourning the loss of their friends and this one guy in particular who's kind of disappeared into his grief. And so for every person you add, it just ratchets up the mourning you feel in the film. It also adds people that could be nefarious. Like you don't really suspect most of these people of being crazy, but every person thrown into the mix is another variable of something that could go cross at some point in the film.
That's where the John Carroll Lynch character is fantastic because
He's so weird.
He's physically imposing,
Yeah.
like looking, and he's much bigger than the rest of the cast. And he's not like scary, like fucking, Tony Todd or somebody like who's
He's
kind of got like
intense.
he's got like this bald kind of everyman look to him, but then he's physically just sort of, I don't know.
Well, just his presence, like it's so, the cult thing kind of starts coming out. They're saying like, it's not a cult, but like here are these two people that they met in this group, the big
If
dude.
you have to say it's not a cult, it's definitely a
Right,
cult.
the big dude and the friendly lady, let's call her, and
You can call her pubes. It's
like
okay.
the main character totally sums it up at one point when the shit starts hitting the fan. He looks at what's the guy's name, John? I keep forgetting. The
Will,
big guy.
the main
the
character.
big guy,
Yeah.
the big
Poor
guy.
man's Tom Hardy.
Oh,
I couldn't-
Pruitt.
He looks at Pruitt and he goes, like he's blowing up, right? He's blowing up everybody's spot, and Pruitt has this weird presence where he keeps going like, "Hey, like watch it, man." And he looks at him, he's like, "Why are you here?" Which is like exactly what, as an audience member, you're thinking the whole movie. Like, why the
it's
fuck is
kind
this
of
guy
I mean,
here?
like, it's a really brilliant casting choice too, because he looks so different than everyone else. Like everyone else is, there's there's some diversity among the couples. But it's more or
they're
less
like
like kind of
sexy-
attractive 30-something people, and then you just have this like big hulking bald dude just
And
sitting
he
at the
never
table.
blends in either. He never blends in where he's like part of the scenery like some of these people do because they're so much alike. So
Well,
he's
and he-
always, you can pick him out of the background at any moment.
Yeah, and like he carries himself as like kind of like a bruiser in this house. Like even when he's like walking the person out, you just feel like he's this just kind of like weird monster that's in the house, which is sort of terrible. But like that's the character that he's meant to play. Right?
That was one of the greatest parts of this movie for me is when they start playing their games and stuff, and they're playing like Never Have I Ever type of stuff and whatnot. And the one girl's talking about how she wants to do coke because she missed doing coke, and they start telling stories about stuff. I get the kind of blends together for me there, but they start talking about different things and aspects of their life, and he stands up and kind of changes the tone of everything and starts talking about when his wife died. And it's when they start talking about some of the cult stuff and whatnot. And I mean,
Not even like when she died, like when he killed her. Like,
Yeah.
And
It's like,
so you're
ugh.
watching this movie, it's moving along, it's flowing, and that's what's great is he stands up and he starts talking and telling the story, and that whole movie he screeches to a halt.
And the camera, like the camera's doing this like methodical thing of person to person, but then when it gets to this story, it just starts slowly like pushing in on him.
Yeah.
And that stuff is like littered throughout the movie. I also would say that the scene so right after this scene, this one girl's totally freaked out and she wants to leave, and basically the main character's super suspicious at this point. Like, why are the doors locked? Why are there things over the windows? And he's convinced that like this is all unspoken, and it's what's so good about the script and the actors. Like you can tell in his head he's thinking like, let her leave. He's like, no, let her leave. Like he gets up in the guy's face and he kind of reluctantly lets her leave. And then right at the last second, Pruitt goes, "Oh, do you drive a Prius?" And she's like, "Yeah, why?" And he's like, "Oh, I think I'm parked behind you." So then he has pretense to follow her outside. That scene might be the most tense scene in the entire film because he's then watching them out the window, and like at first everything's normal. He gets out of the way, she leaves, but then he gets out of his car and he like chases after her car and like knocks on the window, but it's just out of view. And then like the owner of the house comes over to talk to him. That scene was frigging genius. Like that was so intense.
Well,
And
you
it's
don't,
before
and you don't
anything-
know how it ends.
It's before anything's ever really happened. Yeah, and you really don't even know what happened to her by the end of the film.
Yeah.
But it just leaves you as soon as he says, "I'll walk you out to your car."
You're like,
it's
fuck.
You're the viewer. You're like, "No, don't
Yeah.
go with
You're
it."
like, no, thank you.
It's so good, and it's like, we talk about how wide a definition of horror you can have. That's a horrific moment where really, if you write it on paper, nothing happened. Dude walked girl out to her car and she drove away.
Yeah.
Dude
But
walks
it's-
out of frame.
But it's kind of terrifying.
Get
Yeah.
that screenplay out of here with all these people walking each other through their cars.
Eric, how did you feel about the level of wealth displayed in this movie?
I actually did really come out of this movie thinking that everyone in LA seems like the worst, and all these people are just incredibly like, even for our generation, these people seemed super self-absorbed and like pretty, and but I think there's something to that, right? Like that's that kind of living, I think, is what drives you to a cult, because you become
Like-
so vapid that you're just desperate for meaning at some point.
I mean, honestly, like
I'm
they
not
didn't
kidding.
go
I'm
too
not
hard
kidding.
on it, but one of the funniest screenwriting moments in this movie, which I would give credit for being a very subtle movie, is like, that's a $2 million bottle of wine. I was like, these people don't have $2 million.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, I think they were joking. I think they were, yeah, but
That's
Well,
like
I don't think they were. Like, to me, based on, I don't want to give anything away, like where this is going, like to me, it sounds like they're just like, well, we're just blowing everything. Like,
well, that's probably true. But they
Yeah,
do mention
yeah.
at the beginning, like the wife Eden, like it's like it's either a family house or like her family had so much money that's
Maybe.
because like this was also like a like fabulously large and awesome house. You know,
Oh, yeah.
That house had a named designer.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So, I don't know. I mean, Eric's feelings might be a little strong about the search for meaning, and you might be drawing some
No,
connections.
no.
there
I mean,
that-
I'm not saying that was intoned in the movie. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, when you hear, like, how many, I feel like these LA people end up in cults. I saw season 2 of True Detective.
oh yeah, absolutely, they totally do.
What do you mean these LA?
They
people?
totally do.
it's
You ever heard?
just a
hey,
thing in
hey,
LA.
John, you ever
Everybody
heard of
gets
a
into
They
it.
little?
do yoga. They join cults.
John, you ever heard of a little thing called Scientology?
All right, fair point.
Jamba Juice, John.
Just-
Point taken.
Quick
Just saying.
aside, I just saw there's like some new Scientology documentary coming out or like TV special. Do people watch that and they're like, and now they realize that Scientology's fucked up? And also, if rich people want to spend their money on bullshit, who cares? It's just my little
Scientology is
I
gross.
think it's a
That's
little
why they
more
start
than-
killing all the
than
neighbors.
that.
No,
The
Scientology's crazy.
counterpoint would be like you have like the only way that people can get out of Scientology, it's more for the people that want to get out, is like you just have to continue to slander the church so that they like it almost like protects you. I don't know. I was reading about
Staying
what's-
vocal and out in the public's eye and stuff.
Well, and what's her name? I was reading about what's her name from
Leah Remini.
Leah
King,
Remini?
yeah, King of the Hill
Yeah.
or King of Queens rather. Really interesting and like
Oh, it's insane. Like,
which so, like her defense against Scientology. Now we're kind of off on like a cult thing, but
That's
her
fine.
defense has basically just been to like tell all of her own shit
Yeah.
so that they can't blackmail
yeah,
her.
so like she
with it.
can't disappear. Like
Yeah.
the leader's freaking wife.
And it's scary how, in that kind of situation, how scared she really was.
Oh yeah, I don't blame her.
But it plays to an interesting aspect of this movie too, which I thought was cool because we made it clear this is a movie about that has some cult ties and stuff like that. And while things do get over the top by the end of this movie, they introduce this cult in a very low key way. And so things that we've watched, what was the great one about that was kind of a knockoff of the Jim Jones story?
The Sacrament.
Yeah, the sacrament. That was very intentional and it was
yeah.
very deliberate. This is very subtle, and they kind of painted him as something like, we're really not that bad. We're kind of like Scientology. We're not that scary. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. And then it got scary.
Yeah, but
Well,
listen,
when
they're like
all the-
so used to cults that they literally go, "Oh, this is a cult."
Yeah,
'Cause
but I
it's just
mean,
this
in
happens
that
all the time at
sort
dinner
of-
parties.
They kind of show them like this intro video of like, you know, what they're all about, and during that video, they show a woman dying, and the people around her are talking like, you know, it's you're going to a better place. You're gonna go to the freaking great beyond and see all your family and stuff. So from that point on, it kind of clicks in your head that like, all right, like they're gonna try and kill these people probably. So for me, like the tension just keeps building every time like they open a bottle of wine, they bring out
Yeah.
the birthday cake. I'm like, all right, like what's in this? Like they're gonna
So-
poison these people.
It's a
Obviously.
little heavy-handed for an intro video. When you
So
think about it.
yeah, no, totally. So I like it. The funny thing is, I didn't necessarily immediately go to what happened. I mean, we can talk about that in a little bit here, but I kind of was thinking, I don't know. I was thinking that some other people were going to show up, and there was going to be like a sacrifice or something like that.
Yeah.
You're
I-
respecting the robes.
I mean,
Okay,
are
I
we,
guess. I don't know.
Are we going into spoiler
Yeah,
territory here?
I can throw the graphic up.
All right. I mean, we might as well. I mean, I
And
would
that
agree
means
with
it's
you.
official.
Yeah.
I would agree with you, Eric, in that like I didn't expect the so
I'm just
I'll-
going with the ride, basically.
Yeah. Well, so all right, really quick to spoil, and if you really, I would say go ahead and watch this. I mean, it's not really a huge spoiler, but essentially, this is an apocalyptic cult, and they're apocalyptic in a very specific way, which is like the plan was not just to kill themselves, but to also kill everybody else at the dinner party. And
Which that aspect to me is weird because I don't. I don't get why that has
This
to
movie
happen.
makes a great
also.
case for not keeping in touch with people after college and whatever.
I just don't. I mean, to me, it's like I love this movie, but I still can't wrap my head around. I totally get a cult convincing you like, oh, you should kill yourself and be free, but why / how would it convince you that you need to kill unwilling people?
So
what I got from this was these were the people that they wanted to take with them, like when they go to like their whatever afterlife. Like these are the people that they want to be with.
I was
that
also
chubby guy's fun at parties. He should be fun in the afterlife.
I was gonna
We don't want his
say
wife.
they sort of teed this up in that intro video too, where they see the woman dying at their camp. Like clearly, the leader has built this fascination with death, and the point of that scene was that the people around her were able to like draw power from her spirit leaving her as she was dying. At least that's how I interpreted that. And this, like, the other way that to think about it is maybe like you have to like kill all these people to gain like maximum whatever like benefit when you die or something along. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely weird. But no, Eric, to your point, like I didn't necessarily go there. I was like, oh, something crazy is gonna happen. Maybe they're gonna kill themselves like in front of them, like, or I was expecting the leaders to show up. That was like the other thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could say that I expected that people were going to die. Like Joe said, it was obvious when they showed this intro video, they're pretty death obsessed. So you figure somebody's going to die. But I did half expect that they were going to go down in the basement or something, and there's going to be a whole party of people in robes with candles, chanting, saying, "Oh, bring them to us. We're going to die."
Well, I loved like one of my favorite parts of the entire movie was when the sort of wild card chick goes just like ballistic.
Yeah.
Like right after. So basically they're trying to poison everyone.
She's really good.
Yeah, well, and the Will guy kind of like throws off the poisoning, and she flips out because now he's sort of like ruined their plan, and so she goes after him, and that sort of precipitates the whole like unraveling. I thought where this movie gets like super creepy is like then when Pruitt and David, the sort of the new husband, go into like killing mode, where they're like, no, we got to kill all these people now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like my favorite part of this movie is the sort of 5 minutes that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Where it goes from like it's like a
turns
cork coming out of a champagne bottle. Like it's like it's all of this crazy shit, like isolation movie, cult movie 101. Instead of like picking a thing and going with it, it kind of gives you all of them all at once. There's like the accidental death, and there's the person who like did drink the wine and now she's like foaming at the mouth. So there's people attending to her. There's people like attending sort of to this, this quote unquote crazy woman who has been like accidentally like smashed into something. There's someone with a fucking gun. Like it's like they go just insane in a very short period of time, and then it becomes this kind of like stalk and kill, like sneaking around thing for the rest of the movie, which I think was good. But that sort of contained chaos in that 5 minutes was just fucking crazy. Like I don't even think, honestly, like the build was really tense and really well done, and you like can't take that away from this movie. But I think without it like exploding in such a spectacular way in that short period of time, this wouldn't be as good of a film. But I really just think that it's like kind of pitch perfect through all of that.
I think Mark's analogy, like for the champagne cork's a pretty perfect analogy, because a lot of movies that we talk about like this with this kind of pace, we always refer to like a slow burn type of thing, and this isn't necessarily a slow burn. It's slow pace, it's stuff, and then all of a sudden, like Mark says, boom, shit goes nuts.
Well, it also like you have certain, if you're like us and you've seen movies like this, you have expectations of what it's going to be, and it's almost like they knew those expectations and gave you all of it. Like they gave you every option that you could possibly have in that moment, and then like to Joe's point, once you get to the end, came up with like a really cool ending that's not totally what you expected. But I think this film does like a really good job of giving you enough of what you expected from it without just like totally giving up and like being lazy about it.
I don't think we didn't talk about like the.
I was going to say,
end,
did we say
Well, I mean, we can talk about it if.
Yeah, I think it's because I loved it. Like, I feel so. At one point, the main character kind of stumbles upon like a second video, where it's the leader explain it like tonight's the night, like you go do your shit, and like I don't know, he doesn't specifically say like you're gonna kill everyone, but like you pretty much get that idea. So everything kind of goes down in the house, and I don't know about you guys, but for me, like once everything kind of settled, like it clicked in my head that like they had talked about how there's all these people in LA, and you know, you assume like everywhere else that are a part of this cult. So this is probably going down in other people's houses. So they go outside. At one point, we saw the sort of new boyfriend hang up this lantern in a tree, and the main character kind of looks out and sees these lanterns like pretty much all over the like Hollywood like hills. And
They were red too.
you start hearing like helicopters, there's police sirens everywhere, and then you kind of realize they're like, holy shit, like this is happening everywhere.
Well, yeah, because you hear the sirens and you're like, oh, I guess like
Yeah,
somehow
so who
the police
like
are
who
coming.
called the cops? Like that's what's kind of in my
Are
head.
they like because they were using a gun at this point, and so like maybe someone called the police because they heard the gun, and then you see outside and you're like, oh no, it's chaos.
It's going down
It's
everywhere. Like you even
yeah.
hear screams like coming from other houses.
It's such a good ending, and it just kind of
great.
it's like gives you chills. You're like, oh god.
And it's weird.
I
Like to
like
me,
the,
like I think any other movie they could really spawn this off into like other films. Like I can't see them actually doing that, but like to me, it would be interesting to see like what was going on in other houses.
Like The Purge.
I could see them playing with it like The Purge.
I don't know. Like I just don't feel like this movie had the tone that they would like,
Yeah.
do like sequels or other
Well, and
versions.
kind of like the secret's out,
Yeah.
right? Like now I know your plan, bro.
I mean, honestly, I like the moment that solidified this for me when I'm talking about like things that you're expecting. I was fully expecting the, the people who survived walk out of the house and are immediately shot by cops, because that's like that has happened in so many different movies that I can't even like think of specifically. I just thought that's what was going to happen. So the ending is this kind of gut punch, but it's also sort of a relief that it's not just like a full on everyone's dead and they play, spooky music in the credits and that's it.
Yeah. I liked it. I really liked what they did with the character of Eden too, our main guy's ex-wife and everything, because throughout the movie she's the one that's really kind of pushing the agenda for everything and getting people together, and she's the one that really comes across as kind of new agey and culty throughout this whole thing, with just the way she's talking about how nothing gets to her anymore and she's let everything go. And then all this stuff starts, and then you have this scene where she shoots her ex-husband in the shoulder, and then she starts to break down, and you get kind of an emotional gut punch, because when they end up getting back at her and they take her down, and then he runs up to her and she starts talking about, basically she kind of spills the beans that she's only involved with this because she's empty inside because of the loss of their son, and she doesn't know what else to do, basically, and
That
she's gotten
shit
wrapped up
is-
with this cult.
That shit is brutal. Like that
Yeah.
whole scene where they kind of have their final moment, and then she asked to be carried outside, and like the guy and his girlfriend, who were just almost getting murdered by her, like without even questioning. I like that. There's something about that part where the girlfriend, without even questioning, just helps him carry his ex, who just tried to murder both of them outside. Because like, I don't know. It's a testament to how well the emotional angle is done, because she was taken out as a threat, and in a weird way, you just look at her as sad now.
Yeah.
And
Well,
she's
they
just
make it
like, all
obvious
right,
that
let's
the
just
cult
get her
preyed on
outside,
because of
you
her
know.
emotional state.
I mean, this is gonna be. I'm sure someone will call me out on this, but
Oh, I
like,
can't wait.
yeah, this is a point. The way that these characters are handled, honestly, to me, is a testament to the writing and direction, and it's just very interesting to see like a female directed film, and the character of the ex, which I feel like is a very difficult character to write without it being like a stereotype of like her being a bitch or being cold or being crazy or something. Like they kind of play up that maybe she's a little crazy, but in the end, she's written as like a very sympathetic character that just sort of lost her way, and I kind of found that to be one of the best portrayals in the film. Like there are these moments where all this shit's going crazy, and like she's been hurt and she's just like laying there or like kind of walking around, and I feel like in a lesser movie she'd be like running around like trying to stab someone, and like but she like that I think that
Screeching
she
like a banshee.
yeah, totally. And I feel like the way that she was handled, and they gave her not like a burial, but a sort of proper farewell in the backyard, the best you could. Like, I feel like that character is the sort of thing that held this whole movie together, and just kind of an example of the quality of the whole thing.
Yeah, they really kind of taken in that one scene. They really kind of made her the biggest victim of the entire movie, despite all the dead people and everything that had been murdered.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure was a lot of murdering.
Anything
I mean,
else?
it was crazy. It was really crazy.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about the main character?
I feel like he looks like Tom Hardy a lot, and it's really distracting.
Handsome.
I thought he looked like Jesus.
He's slightly less hunky Tom Hardy. That's
he's,
my
he's
feeling.
pretty. He's hunky in his own way, John. It's like a '90s grunge singer hunky.
And Joe, it offends me that you don't think that Tom Hardy is Jesus.
I think that the fact that I didn't like, you could call this guy whiny, except the script does such a good job at tuning you into how broken he is that like at some point I totally stayed with it. I got it. You know what I mean? Even though he really just is, you could look at him just being mopey, blah, blah, blah. But like when you really kind of understand through the film the scope of what he's been through, you're just like, God, man. But it also like, it's just a hard film to sit through because this guy is just like having a rough go of it.
It does make you question how he got together with that girlfriend though. Like, what sort of fun did they actually have that like she's like, yeah, I want to be with you all
well
like,
forget that, but like why would he bring her here? I mean, like obviously it seems like they've been together a little while and they're kind of getting serious, and she obviously is trying to support him, like she knows what he's going through, but at some point like the first time you see these people in 2 years seems like a really heavy event to casually just bring your girlfriend to.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of got that because it's like, all right, I'm going to my old house where my ex-wife now lives with her new boyfriend.
She may have insisted too. She may have been like, I want to be there for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of what
it really kind of felt. They really did a good job without doing an info dump to say this is what he was doing. It really made it feel like he was kind of nearing the end of his mourning and the phase that he was in, and he was trying to overcome it and kind of move beyond, move past the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, the girlfriend character I could sort of take or leave, but I thought it was interesting, and like I don't fully know what I don't fully understand what this metaphor is supposed to be. But in the beginning of the film, when they hit the wolf, and the main character guy just kind of like bashes it to death with a tire iron, they sort of mirrored that when she is like bashing the head of the cult guy.
Pruitt.
Yeah, and I think, just kind of a cool, subtle callback to the beginning of the film. I don't know if it really means anything so much. Like, I thought originally they were going to go with, like, an embracing animal desires or something, like, something primal like that. But they just directorially just kind of made a callback to the beginning of the film that I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Yes, sir.
The Invitation. Would you recommend this to our fair listeners, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Indeed.
Mark?
Yes.
Everybody showed up at different times this week, so you're all in a different order in the video, and it's really screwing me up here. All right, guys, that's going to do it for The Invitation. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Chud, check your basement and your bathroom. Keep off the street and try to hide. But remember, the dark is their place. The night is their time. And tomorrow, the only things living in the city of New York will be Chud. Chud. Cannibalistic, humanoid, underground dwellers. Chud. They're not staying down there anymore.
This is Jason Mewes, and you're listening to BloodyGoodHorror.com. Yes.
Send your emails to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or hit us up on Twitter at BGHorror with the hashtag AskBGH. And don't forget to pick up back episodes of the show at podcast.bloodygoodhorror.com.
And we are back.
I like to think if the Chud movie was released now,
Chud.
they would say hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Chud is
Man, I
coming
have
for
such
you.
fond memories of Chud, and I probably haven't watched it in a really long time, and I'm not sure how much I like it.
I have,
it's
and it lives
old.
up to the hype. It's real
Yeah,
good.
it holds up.
We watched it on the show. It
We
wasn't
did.
that
It was
long
a couple
ago,
years
Mark.
ago. It was probably like 10 years ago.
It was a long time ago. That
Yeah.
was
It
was
probably
probably
Yeah, it was
7 or
before
8.
me.
7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was first season 1.
Gotta love Dirty Daniel Stern.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers.
Really convoluted title for a horror movie too, and I kind of love it.
What I really just love about all those old, like, you going on YouTube and grabbing like old horror radio commercials is like, it's just some really solid voice work, just creepy movie guy voiceover work that you just don't hear that stuff in trailers anymore, and it's amazing.
Chud. There's like no voiceovers in horror trailers anymore.
Yeah, they
It's
don't really
all
do.
like-
They
it's
just
all
get every
like
plot beat.
slowly zoomed in text
Yeah.
and jump scares.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Mark, I have no idea where we left off on Twitter, so you're just
Oh, that's awesome.
know.
You
I
guys
just-
are super helpful. Who was on the
I
show
just-
last week? Raise your hand.
I literally just pinged it to Mark. I wish he would read the ping.
Next up.
It's we're starting with franchise MPLS.
Okay, first we're starting with email. Alex says, "Hey guys,
We've been doing this for almost 10 years.
Can I
folks.
do the beer pick for this show? God damn it.
Alex says, "Hey guys, huge fan of the show. Been listening since early last year, like from It Follows / Ex Machina time. Just watched Hush and noted a plot hole. The part where the neighbor is hammering at the window, surely the vibrating cause from hitting the window would reach her. Having dated a deaf girl, I had to wake her sometimes when I visited. I would knock hard on her bathroom window and it would wake her up. Anyways, looking forward to the next episode, as always."
Yeah, I think
We
that's
de-
what I think we talked about it. Like that's what stuck out to me in the beginning too. That kind of bothered me.
We did discuss the acoustic logic in that film at length.
Yeah.
I feel
Wait,
like.
is there can someone tell me what they thought of Hush? Because I haven't listened to the episode yet.
It's
Oh.
great.
I think we
Go
all
watch
liked
it.
Yeah, it's real solid.
Is there a deaf character in that movie?
Just the main character.
Oh my God, I wish I went to a school that was 10% deaf. I wish I was there to talk about it.
Is that like you dated a deaf girl? Is that like the same thing?
This
No,
is
but I
what
have-
blue
Which
looks
school?
like.
Which school did you go to? Is Rochester?
Yeah, RIT has an accredited school for the deaf. Are like, it's, yeah,
Oh,
we have
interesting.
like mainstream dorms, and I had interpreters in my classes and all that.
That's interesting, Mark, but it's not a world-class hospital.
I know how to sign lighter and sausage and platypus and diarrhea and all the words.
pass that bowl over here, please.
Hand me that
asshole.
lighter so I can cook this sausage.
I can't spell my name in sign, but I can say lighter sausage platypus diarrhea, which is very important. And also fuck is always my favorite.
Yeah.
It's fuck.
All right.
And whatever.
She did that one.
Whatever's a
Tony
good one.
She dropped some F-bombs in that movie.
Sure.
And by drop, I mean, like,
Tony
signed them.
Slammed him.
Yeah.
Tony says, "I'll second that email about occasionally talking about podcasters as if I know them. Just the other day, I laid some knowledge down on my wife about a craft beer, including where the brewery was located. She's all like, 'How the hell do you know that? You don't even drink beer very often.' And I'm all like, 'I know this because Joe knows this, a la Fight Club.'"
That makes me happy.
Tony,
If I can just get you guys to start talking to your loved ones about the Real Housewives.
Yeah. That's
Then
Tony
I've done
from
something.
Parts Unknown, aka North Carolina, he says. So that was a fun little email. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. We're also on Twitter at
Yeah.
BG Horror with the hashtag AskBGH. Mark, I'm going to ask you to maybe get a little closer to your mic so I can hear your dulcet tones a little louder.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Sweet. This first one's from Android number 8, I hope. I know I'm late, but do you think Hush is a modern remake of the 1971 film See No Evil?
Sure, I wasn't alive back then. That was old
Not to be
people
confused
times.
with WWE film See No Evil starring Kane.
Casey, is this a remake?
I didn't get to see Hush, so
Ah.
I have not watched it yet. I was not on that episode.
Have you seen that original?
I have, but it's been a long time, so
It's Mia Farrow.
Oh.
71 British thriller film.
I do like
Interesting.
British
It does
thriller
sound like
films.
it's the Hush was heavily influenced by it, just based on reading the description.
I was negative 15 years old when that movie came out.
Yes, son of a gun.
This next one is from Watchfire's Mitch. Last week when you talked about VOD releases you may have missed, I wonder if you thought about reviewing Southbound.
You know, we've heard that. I can't remember if we got an email about it or what, but it's been on our list.
Yeah, it's on our list. It's one I stumbled across not too long ago too. I haven't watched it yet. It looks cool.
I don't think I put it in the list that we sent to the voters this week. So perhaps in our next round of voting.
Okay.
Cool.
This is a good one related to the invitation. This is from Free Burge. Loved this movie. Friend wasn't impressed. She said it's too predictable. Does predictability ruin movies for you?
Is it predictable? Crazy shit happens in that movie.
I don't disagree. I mean, I've said this is like the third time I've said this, but I think that it's the things that happen are not really new in this genre. You know, like you kind of it's building really well to something crazy that's happening, but there's a little bit of art to doing it without just like totally fucking ruining it.
I mean, I'm also, and I've talked about this on the show a lot, I think, but I'm a strong believer in the fact that predictability is actually like a pretty good thing, because viewers you feel rewarded when you kind of guess, even though maybe you were like led astray a little. So when things like come out the way that you want, it's bad when something's too predictable, but when things follow, it's why genres exist, right? Like they follow similar, storylines.
I feel like it can really help to like build the tension, because like I feel like we watch these Paranormal Activity movies every year, and whether they're good or bad, you kind of know what's going to happen. And to me, like part of those, like the tension that those builds is like I know the camera's going to pan over and something's going to be there, but like when's it actually going to happen? And like when they drag that out for like 30 seconds or like a minute, like you start wetting yourself and throwing up all over.
I mean, a movie like this, I think, works best for two kinds of movie viewers. Like a total mark that just buys into everything, is like totally surprised and shocked by everything that happened. Or someone who's kind of seen a lot of movies and has an analytical perspective and is okay with like following those beats and just kind of appreciating it.
There is it
might
like
fall
real
sort of flat in the middle. Like someone who... Basically, what I'm saying is your friend is shitty at watching movies, I think is what...
I'm with it.
Getting.
I mean, for the record, like my wife was so scared she had to stop watching. She like went and got her phone, started watching something else. She's like, I can't handle this.
I love talking about Laura watching movies because it makes me think of the time that she fucking screamed out loud during the ending of The Strangers. It's one of my favorite.
It was Halloween.
Be watching, like if they put those like videos and trailers of people like gasping at movies. She like did that thing in their living room.
Oh, she does that. Yeah, she does. She does it in the theaters too. It's really funny.
Oh, it's amazing. It's so funny.
And then she covers her mouth and looks at me, and I'm just like, I don't know you.
Oh, Eric gasps like a little girl when he watches movies too. This next one's from Dean Luzchester. I'm listening to a podcast about serial killers. Ooh. What serial killer would you most like to see a film about?
I feel like there hasn't
Whoever
been...
killed Teresa Halbach, am I right?
No, it was that guy.
I mean, I'm always fascinated by Ted Bundy. I don't know that a movie would be good. I mean, they've done, I'm sure, TV movies and shit, but that could be a cool biopic. There's a great book written by a woman that worked with him, and he walked her to her car every night to make sure she got to her car safely.
Dear Lord.
And then after everything happened, she like wrote a book about what that was like to then find out what happened. You know what I mean? He's just something really fascinating about that dude and his persona that I've always been interested in.
I'd be interested in seeing a John Wayne Gacy movie that's not like a B movie.
Have you guys ever heard of H.H. Holmes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see like I guess Leonardo DiCaprio.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that got optioned for a...
yeah. So never mind. Apparently they're making it.
DiCaprio's playing him?
Make a wish and it shall come true.
Wow.
I would love to know what podcast she's listening to, so if she wants to,
Yeah, I would listen to that.
I was going to... I might just,
I was
tweet
talking pre-show about listening to the No Sleep podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky stories.
No doubt. All right. This next one is from Nocturnal Curves.
Ooh.
Have you ever developed a phobia of something from seeing a movie as a kid? I'm a victim of it, so no clowns for me, thanks.
It definitely freaked me out when I was a kid.
I was scared to death of aliens for quite a while, especially after like Fire in the Sky.
You know
Wait,
what?
like, when were you encountering the aliens that you were then afraid of them?
It was the same woods behind my house that I was sure that Bigfoot lived in. I figured there's aliens in there too. So.
I mean, it's the Midwest. Bigfoot could actually live there, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
When I saw April Fool's Day for the first time, I hate snakes ever since that. Like that scene where that guy's swinging and that snake's like jumping at him. Like snakes are assholes.
I love that movie. That movie's fun.
Oh, it's great.
I know I've mentioned this on the show, but Pet Cemetery to me was like one of the scariest things, and I was probably like 9.
Oh my God, Zelda! Zelda still gives me nightmares.
That was just the worst.
Zelda gave me fear of people with chronic diseases.
I've always been skeptical of cornfield since I saw Children of the Corn. I just picture someone in the middle yelling like, "Malachi, we have your woman."
Outlander, we have your woman.
And you'd be like, you would be like, "There's no Malachi here."
Oh man,
leave me alone.
It was all a dream.
That's my life you're talking about. It's a culture, not a costume.
We have your woman.
I don't know. I can't remember if this was like I think this was a pre-show. We were talking about if whether or not Casey scared his daughter's friends. I think maybe yelling "Malachi, we have your woman" is a good way to scare a bunch of straight kids hanging out.
Outlander.
All right.
Love it.
All right, this next one's from 40 Ounce Heroes. We all remember the classic Freddy vs. Jason. Who would you pair up against Michael Myers in a versus sequel?
Well, for a while, Dimension had a script floating around that was Pinhead versus Michael Myers, basically, where somehow Michael Myers ended up with hell, and then Pinhead was there because it's hell.
And Pinhead tapped into all Mike Myers' weird
that could be kind of
Was there
amazing.
runes, do you think?
That could
Or
be kind of
runes involved?
amazingly friggin' weird, I think, on
Mostly
some level.
runes.
But it never happened because they both. I mean, Dimension owns both of those characters. So
I don't. It's
the problem is that Michael Myers doesn't talk.
the thing to me about
Neither does
versus-
Jason.
Fair.
about versus movies, and someone actually that was on the pre-show asked if we watched the trailer for this versus movie with the girl from The Ring and the girl from The Grudge, and I haven't watched the trailer.
Wait,
but
is it real?
Oh God.
There's like a versus sort of movie coming out. The thing about Freddy versus Jason specifically and versus movies is that it like predated mashup culture, and it was like the first time you were like, oh my God, these two things can happen.
The idea that
Now, like anyone with a GoPro and After Effects can like make their own versus movie and like throw it up on YouTube, and it's great. But like I don't know. To me, the appeal of the like will they or won't they thing just is kind of gone now. I don't know.
I mean, think about it this way: New Line bought the rights to Friday the 13th in the early '90s, and that talk started at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, when Freddy pulls his mask on her. That was like 1993 or something.
I mean,
and that even
of like a teaser trailer, and it was in an actual movie that came out.
And this is a weird kind of parallel to make, but it was even like one of the first real fourth wall breaking things I remember as a teenager was wrestling. When you started getting like the NWO and all this stuff going on with WCW and the WWF. But like that was that time when you started seeing fourth wall breaking stuff. 98 was a Blair Witch Project. And the idea that you would put Freddy and Jason into something is like a mashup. Yeah, it was an insane idea that was so titillating as a horror nerd. And to see it come to fruition, like I still maintain that Freddy versus Jason is like a friggin' triumph. Like the idea that you could make that movie and have it be as entertaining as it is incredible to me, and I still love it.
Soul Resin, who's hanging out watching the live stream, sent me a message, and he brought up Freddy versus Pinhead for the hours of crazy speeches between the two of them. But I think the only way that would work is if you had it directed by Kevin Smith.
What if you had instead of like a versus movie, what if you had a movie that was like Pinhead's in hell and all the slashers are in hell because they were all murdered at the same time. You know, they managed to kill all of them and now they're all in hell facing their demons. Jason, Freddy, Jason, Freddy, Michael Myers. Let's throw in like the Leprechaun and Saw guy. They're all there.
So
I mean,
And
I'd
they're all
watch it.
played by Warwick Davis.
I don't think you could do a whole series off of it, but I think you could have one movie with because they've done it in comic books of Ash versus a couple of the big monsters.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing holding it back, I feel like, is rights. You know, like a lot of
Oh,
these
yeah.
people.
Well,
If you think
that's-
about like Tony Todd and Kane Hodder and all these people that are like making the convention circuit, I'm pretty sure that if the like precedent for the rights existed, they would be in a million of these.
Well, the
movies.
problem
I-
is
well,
the problem is the potential profit is not there to justify the amount of money and dealing
it would
would
have
take.
to be like a Kickstarter or
like
something.
like Marvel can make deals to get those characters in movies because they know they're gonna make an absurd amount of money when they do it, like so they can pay Sony for Spider-Man or something. Whereas like Freddy vs. Jason did actually better than anyone anticipated, but not enough to then go paying for other characters.
Well, I was just reading about there's a movie coming, Death House. They're billing it as the Expendables of horror because it's got people like Kane Hodder and D. Wallace
Yeah.
Stone,
Which I really
and,
like. Who
a
gives
bunch
a
of
shit?
horror icons that are going to show up in there, but they're not playing their original characters.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, but who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds.
R.I.P. Angus Scrimm.
It's the convention row casting thing that I always
Yeah.
talk about. That I'm just like,
Oh, it
okay.
totally is. Sid
filmed
Haig,
in a
Bill
conference
Mosley,
room
Michael
at the,
Berryman.
What'd you say, Joe? Was shot in a conference room?
It was filmed in a conference room at the Indianapolis Hyatt for a 2-day period.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, good for them, but I don't want to watch it. Is all I'm saying.
Bloody good horror hipsters. This next one is from Good Sir Murdoch. When can I expect the first BGH orgy to take place in VR?
The first. Oh, I was gonna say in VR. You already missed the first one. I'm sure that's happened.
It took us about 4 years to get on Snapchat, so it's going to be a while. The show will probably explode before we adapt.
It would be
VR
awesome. It would be
technology.
awesome if you could do the show in VR. You could like spin my camera around and look at the diapers behind me.
Is Joe wearing pants? Is he not wearing pants? You'll only know if you tune in. He doesn't even know.
Yeah, he's not sure.
Whose pants are they?
All right. So I'm going to read this tweet as I misread it, and then I'm going to read it as it's actually written. 40 Ounce Heroes. What level of Patreon do I have to get to see Eric BGHE White Castle?
Unfortunately, I can't because I have some food things that I have to deal with. So I would love to. There's actually photos. Probably if you go to our MySpace, which I'm pretty sure still exists.
There's a literal photo of Eric.
There's a
eating White
literal
Castle.
photo of me eating White Castle because after it might have been the first Horror Hound, might have been probably the second one, maybe.
No, it was
when
the first one we all went to because I remember us being like.
Well,
really
the first one we
impressed
all went
that
to.
they-
I went to one previously and I met Casey though, so it would have been
I'm
my
pushing
second
up your
one.
glasses. You know what I meant. The first
So-
that we all went to together.
They did this thing where they ordered like a mountain of White Castle burgers, and I ate so many of
And
them.
I remember being impressed by that, and then remembering that White Castle burgers cost 25 cents a piece.
They're
it
so
was-
good though. I don't care what anybody says.
and
White
actually,
Castle is incredible.
As written, it was what level of Patreon do I have to get to see Joe BGHE White Castle, and I wasn't going to bother reading it because I'm pretty sure he'll do that for free.
Yeah.
All
Do
you
they,
gotta do is pay for the White Castle.
do they have them in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Although I'm gonna sound like a prick from New York, but like I will argue that they do not taste the same here as they do back in New York.
Really?
Yeah. But that's just me.
all right. I'm gonna brush it off.
When after
Crystals.
fun fact, after we did that at Horror Hound, it was the first time in my life I'd ever had White Castle because we don't have them like where we're from.
Yeah.
And I was living in Florida, and I found out that I could buy them in the freezer aisle, and I started making the frozen ones. They're not bad.
No, they're pretty spot on to like what you
Yeah.
actually get in the restaurant.
Yeah.
That
I
does not
remember
say
Eric
in
made
terms of
me,
what's at the restaurant.
I picked up Eric from the airport once, and that was the first stop we had to make was a White Castle.
I'd be
I
curious
mean,
when you
like-
said you ate a ton of those, Eric. Like how many are we talking here?
No, like at that night at Horror Hound, I had lost count. I just like every 5 minutes was going
No,
back
I will vouch
grabbing
for
more.
that. Eric ate an uncomfortable quantity of White
Yeah.
Castle burgers.
Yeah,
And
because
the
they
thing-
just brought like 4 or 5 Crave cases, which is like 30 cheeseburgers each, and just dumped them out on a table.
No, it was more than that. It was a mountain.
To scale Christmas tree out of the box.
Yeah, it was like a mountain of them. And the thing that gets to you, I realized after a while, is the onions.
Yeah.
Like you just starts your whole body just starts emanating onions at some point.
Yeah, because you start sweating them out.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, It was in a closed room too. Like it was. There was
so
a costume
fucking
contest.
gross.
It was like.
It was so gross.
This
Red
is the
Bacon
worst
is
story we've
singing
ever
White
told
Castle.
on the show.
It was like.
Yeah,
It was like.
I'm
onion-
semi right
Listen, if I had to make a list of like the top 10 memories of this bloody good horror thing we do, that might be my number one. Eating those
It was
White
like
Castles.
an onion. It was like an onion sweat lodge.
It's like you can't tell where the
Reggie
onions.
Bannister.
You can't
With
tell
Reggie
where the
Bannister.
onion ends and the bo begins.
You know what? People accuse Eric of being joyless. You've never seen a young boy's face light up quite like it did when Eric watched Reggie Bannister's band for the first time.
Listen, that guy's got
and-
soul, okay?
And proceeded to talk about it for 10 years following that thing that happened. It was pretty great.
At some point, I just felt weird because there were so little people in the room. I didn't want to walk away.
Eric was trying to muster enough enthusiasm for all of the people that had left watching Reggie Bannister's band.
Oh god, so uncomfortable.
Keeping the dream alive, man.
God bless America. All right, this next one's from Super Vince 2000. Part of it is kind of Patreon housekeeping, but he also said he's taking a road trip on Wednesday to one of Eric's top 10 garbage cities, New Orleans.
I'm actually going to New Orleans next week. Now that you say that,
Nice.
Nice.
I'm going to
Yeah.
Chicago in a month.
Don't you
I did
a
have
baby
this-
to have.
yeah, it's a long story, but I am going to New Orleans for 2 days.
I did have this moment. I was in. I missed the show last week because I was at a wedding in Jamaica, and I was thinking, I was like, man, I love this, and that's how I know that Eric would hate it.
No, I'm sure
Jamaica,
Jamaica's
you
cool.
mean?
I love Bermuda. I went to Bermuda and thought it was really cool.
It's pretty different.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
People
I think
still
it's
go to
fast-
Bermuda.
It's real fast.
I don't know. Is there a beach there? I really like the beach. I can get into that.
Oh, we had a pool. We had like a saltwater pool, and then
Yeah.
you could go into the ocean. You
Dude,
could climb down
beaches
the
and
ladder.
pools, forget about it. I'm in.
Word. It was awesome.
It's my jam. The hot tubs? I like hot tubs a lot.
Oh,
We had a not in Jamaica
disgusting.
because it was like
What?
actually hot. We had a lukewarm tub. That
That's the worst. I hate that.
I'm
that's
with
pretty
you.
much just a hot tub. Like that is just a cauldron of urine and semen.
Hot
You
tubs
get a good hot
are
tub that's
not
actually up.
hygienic.
No.
You get a good hot tub that's actually up to 104 degrees where it's supposed to be, and it's incredible.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's really great at Hocking Hills when you get a bunch of horror nerds in a hot tub and it
The,
turns green.
the problem
that's
is
a
they're never
I'm
as
pretty
hot as
sure-
they're supposed to be.
Pretty sure my barf is still next to that hot tub from like 3 years ago. And there's fucking raccoons. It's a
Hair floating.
sweet, sweet Ohio. Okay, 2 more. This one's from Nerds of Gore. Does Joe still hate everything about the Midwest other than the cheese curds?
No, I don't hate the Midwest. I love it.
Joe's
here.
a real Midwest guy.
Yeah, yeah. Although the cheese curds are pretty good. I'll say the sausage. That's delicious. Italian beef.
Man, I don't know. The last couple times I had cheese curds, I kind of hated myself. Like the first time I had them, I was like, I can handle this. And subsequent times, it's a tough.
They're real salty.
Oh,
They're
so good.
glorious.
They're
Since you're
delicious.
close, Joe, since you're close, the next time you come to Indy, I'll take you out for giant tenderloins.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
It is.
It's a gay bar.
That is 100% a euphemism for something that I don't fully understand.
Yeah. Somebody check Urban Dictionary.
My tenderloins.
Giant tenderloins.
The last one is not a question, but I'm going to read it anyways. It's from Super Vince 2000. Schnars is tonight's MVP for reuniting me with my lost link to the classic BGH archive. Thank you. Hashtag
Aw.
not a question. I thought John deserved the credit for handling
Nice.
it.
You got it, buddy.
Way to go, Schnars. Thumbs up.
Good for you.
Do what I can.
Go team.
Keep the
And I'd like
patrons
to
happy.
mention again that Mark showed up early.
Well done.
When
Did
I
we
got
keep
it,
you up,
I got
Eric?
it.
No, the pollen is out here in New England, and my eyes have literally been burning fire for like 6 days straight, and it's the worst.
I've been getting blasted with the old
Yeah.
pollen as well.
We're in
It's
the
not a-
season in Chicago where it'll be 80 and then 30 and then 80.
Yep, we're
And
getting
then 20.
frost tonight. It was 70 like 4 days ago.
Yeah.
And it'll
Chicago.
probably snow somewhere before the end of the month.
Yeah.
So when are
Good-
we?
good
What's the
times.
movie with the spaceship that's really a submarine? Know what I'm talking about?
Independence Day.
No. It's a spoiler alert. I can't.
Oh,
Pandorum.
Pandorum.
I just spoiled it in case no one's ever seen it. I feel like it's only a matter of years before we all live on Pandorum. That's all I'm saying.
When is Independence Day? Speaking of movies I want to see.
I think it's July 1st.
I thought you were gonna be a smartass and say July 4th.
Isn't
No,
it?
I'm
Wait
pretty
a
sure it's
second.
that-
Is it
that
coming
week,
out
though.
the same weekend as The Purge, though? Uh-oh. What are we going to do, guys?
We're gonna skip it and then watch
No,
it 2
you-
years late. Like we
It's
did this
not.
last week.
I don't think it is. I think it's a different weekend, and we can
No,
do
it
both.
probably comes out because Purge is July 4th. So
I'm
first
pretty
is
sure
probably
that
that
in-
Wednesday.
in an election year, we have to defer to the movie with election year in the title.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we
Did
got
you
Sure,
open.
they called it election year.
Maybe we're open next the week after or something.
Purge 3 is 7-1 and Independence Day is 7-8 right now.
Oh,
That's
okay.
at least what I had it penciled
All right,
in.
nobody panic. It's gonna be okay.
Oh,
We'll make
We
it
got
work.
this.
Like, you really can't maneuver for Independence Day to come out on July 4th. You've got, like, how do you not do that?
you got no Will Smith?
Maybe it is. I mean, we'll see.
I mean, maybe something else is coming out that they were afraid of going up against.
Mark, this is on the list that Casey
You don't
and
have
I
Will
just
Smith,
update
but-
randomly, so like we could just be wrong.
Mark, there's no Will Smith. He's dead.
You got no Will Smith?
No, there's no Will
The
Smith.
That
So,
list
yeah.
is pretty much Schnars and I looking through the internet saying, "Ooh, that looks cool."
basically. That's so next week, Baskin. Y'all will have to soldier on without me as I may be getting a daughter or maybe getting a son.
Here
I
you
saw
go.
Wait,
that,
you don't know?
Independence Day Resurgent comes out June 24th.
John, you don't know what you're getting?
We do not know.
Wow, look at you. Brave soul.
You didn't have one of those parties where you, like, popped a balloon and then, like, blue dye shoots over everybody?
That would be amazing.
And you get a boy, and
no,
you get a boy.
I'll let you guys know sometime Thursday morning after we find out.
Nice. This is
I will
gonna be
100% be violently hungover for our next show whenever it takes place.
Nice.
info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. Don't forget to check out bloodygoodhorror.com in general. Mark, who curates that there site. We got a
Sure do.
whole bunch of writers turning out daily reviews. We got people doing Let's Play videos. You can check out our Tweet with BGH segments, and of course, CC's book club. You can check all that out, bloodygoodhorror.com. You can also check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. Find out how you can get access to every back episode of the show and lots of other goodies.
Also, subscribe to youtube.com/BGH video because we're not super good with posting the videos on the website, and by you, I mean me. So subscribe to that channel, and you'll see when we're live streaming.
Yeah,
So
the best
we're gonna
way
be
is
live streaming some of our
the best way is youtube.com/bloodygoodhorror. And don't forget,
BGH video.
Send your wiener pics to @BGHorror on Snapchat. Joe's just waiting over there.
It's even at.
You got web toes. Joe wants to see them.
Yeah, you got some weird deformity. You know, show Joe. Why not? I don't have to see it.
BG horror. What
It's
is
a
this
purple as
bullshit?
third nipple.
Right, exactly. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Bloody Good Horror. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Adios.
See yous.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye bye.